Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Multiverse Infinitum podcast, where I am joined here today by two very special guests for a very special episode. But we'll get to that in a moment. Gentlemen, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Hey, what's up? I'm Gareth.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Hunter.
And the channels will be linked in the description. Today, we're going to discuss... Luke, would you like to let them know?
Yeah, today we're going to be discussing some MTG topics.
Yeah. So basically, player interactions, some drama, some fun stories or moments. Just for some background, I've been playing about, 2024? So like 11 years now since the release of Theros.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm primarily EDH and or Commander now, and Draft player. And I've been on and off since I took the original break in Kaladesh. So from Theros to Kaladesh. Would you like to say your background and your experience?
Yeah, for my background, I've been personally playing since Rise of the Eldrazi came out, which was a very big set. That's when, the Eldrazi's were first introduced as like the real villains during that timeline. So I've been playing that. I dropped out around, I'd have to say, Aether Revolt was when I dropped out.
Okay, right after Kaladesh.
Yeah, Aether Revolt was when I dropped back out, but then I jumped back in when Theros Beyond Death came out.
Right.
That set, I was so happy about that. Yeah, that set had some really good cards in it. Like, you got to see the demigods, you got to see you get to see all the old gods come back with like a better look on them, especially some new ones too. That made a lot of really big appearances out there.
Totally. Like, yeah. And then Gareth, would you like to say your experience level or kind of what set you got in?
I have no idea what set I was good on. I can't remember what it was called at all. I'd have to look at my cards.
Okay.
But probably like 3 years ago, and then I got out about like a year ago.
Okay.
So coming back, not at all.
Like least
But
experience.
I'm here to share my experience.
Yeah, and
Have
you've
some
certainly
fun.
played a lot of games.
Yeah, exactly.
And would you say primarily? Oh, we got to go over formats too.
Yeah, big time, definitely.
So, what was like the main, I guess, format that you were most familiar with?
What I'm most familiar with is probably just like standard 60 card.
Okay,
But
so
we also played like without any kind of like standardized decks.
Right, so not standard format.
Yeah.
but
Just 60
cards.
decks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
no deck limitations in terms of outside of you'd still play like 4 per, right?
Yeah.
Still the Magic
Yeah.
rules, just no set restrictions.
Exactly.
Very cool. Okay, so kitchen
real
table
magic.
magic. Real magic.
Real magic.
No, that's lit. That's lit.
that's true.
But I would probably disagree. I like the restrictions. I think the creativity comes out of it, and it's important to notice the card interactions. But
Fair enough.
that's another point we can get into later.
Oh yeah, not to mention for most new players out there, they should probably also know that it's a very political game. Like people get very political, especially in Commander.
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah.
there are games that'll last like almost 3-4 hours of people debating on like who to take out first and like what to do with this. Like,
He's the target.
yeah.
Which can happen in certain draft circles too. But
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think if you randomize the pod, it's mostly just what cards you get, have a fun time. And that's why I prefer draft, but I definitely agree. There's a certain like entertainment value to that politicking.
Yeah.
And I think it adds an extra layer to the game that is fun for like board game nights. Like if you've ever heard of Dominion,
Yeah, I've heard
it's a
of
similar
Dominion.
board game where you have to like do a lot of politicking and like strategizing and like you got to make deals and then break them and they're like, but you said.
Yeah.
And just that happens a lot in Commander for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Political. What else? I think it's also important to note that power creep is very real.
Yeah,
And
big
it's
time.
2024. It's a 30-year-old game, right? It's the first trading card game, came out in 1994.
What is power creep?
Power creep basically means as we keep releasing sets and as we keep updating.
They have to release better and better cards to get people to buy them.
So in 2008, if you released a 2-drop that was a 2/2 lifelink, it's like that was a pretty good common. But now it has to be 2/2 lifelink haste.
Yeah, to make it really,
for one,
really
and
good.
you're like,
yeah.
holy shit, or something, or like a 3/3 for 2 haste, and you're like, no downside.
Yeah.
Like that's power creeping. Nowadays they just keep adding crazy keywords that are like
I think
really intense.
I think one of the one drops that really crept up was a Death Shadow.
Yeah.
That one drop where it got huge if your life was extremely low.
Well, you see, that's actually, I think, an effect of an old card becoming good because of the new cards that were printed around it making it good.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another thing you have to keep in mind with new sets coming out is how do they affect the older formats and all the previous cards printed before it. Because it could be like, oh, this is trash in Standard. It's like, but in Legacy, we have access to this card that was printed 20 years ago, and they have this crazy combo together.
Yeah.
So now it's like a $600 card because it's freaking super combo, and nobody freaking opened it in this limited printed set.
Yep.
I see.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
So maybe that can segue to our next topic, which is near and dear to all of our hearts, and I'm sure every other Magic player, and that's supply and demand in the secondary market.
Yeah.
Just like how expensive cards are, and maybe how difficult it is to liquidate cards nowadays, just because of how many sets have been released and how many new special things are out there. It's kind of hard to get rid of some of the older stuff.
Oh yeah, I just tried to liquidate a whole bunch of my cards, and they'd all just been, even all my like pretty decent expensive cards had just been either circulated out or banned.
That's only a couple years.
Yeah.
Now imagine my shit's like 10 years old or whatever.
I was pretty bummed.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Speaking of which, I was gonna say, speaking of which, there is one card in my deck I do want to show you that I think you're gonna really like seeing.
Okay, what is it though?
It is the Masterpiece Soul Ring.
Oh, really? Wow.
Masterpiece what was it? Invention? Oh, what was the term for it?
Fair? Oh wait.
It was I know it was in either Aether Revolt or Khalid. It was one of those two sets where they created the Masterpiece Collection, where it had like I think it was like 12 different cards, but they were all very, very, very good cards. Like, let's see, you had Soul Ring, you had all the swords, you had Mana Vault, you had what else? You had Gauntlet of Power, you had Mana Crypt, you got what else? Oh, Engineered Explosives, that was another big one. Grindstone, Painter Servant, like they grabbed a lot of old cards and created them, and yeah, that's one card I have that I have not gotten rid of because I got it a couple years ago, and at first I got it for like $130 because that's what it was when the set, like after like a couple weeks, like when it comes out the first, and that's what some people need to know about some sets is when a card first comes out, within the first week it'll be at its highest peak, but then when the next 2 weeks go by, then it'll immediately drop, and it'll slowly go kind of up and down like this through the rest of the time because it's never going to get higher or lower. It's just going to be mid-tier normally.
Yeah, well, I would kind of say that depends on its standard playability.
Yeah.
Because something that comes out like Siege Rhino, and then that's so expensive, and then it rotates, and it's like, I agree with you. But then we have something like Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, that
and
card.
It was good in Standard, but it was beastly in Modern.
Oh yeah, in Modern it was so dumb. Yeah. Or even like Amulet of Vigor, like that was a really big card that at first they were like, this doesn't look good.
Was that with Bloom Titan?
Yeah. What? I'm trying to think of what Titan it was. I know there was a combo that involved Amulet, and I think it was Primeval Titan. Yeah. Yeah, that 2-card combo is what really made that card shoot up in price, was because people realized, oh my god, this card is busted.
Yep.
So that's what some cards do out there is like, you know, they'll either be very expensive because there's a lot of combos out there, or they'll be about mid because some people play it, but it's not really what a whole lot of like the big players want to use.
Or it's a good sideboard to a combo, and then it'll have medium value because it's like this other super expensive combo is so common that because this shuts down that combo, it's kind of a must-have in the sideboard. Yeah. And we see that a lot with like graveyard removal, right?
Oh yeah, big graveyard with that.
There's great graveyard combos in Legacy and Modern.
Or even if we look into into a Simic, it's like they have Murktide Regent and they have Endurance, which are two very strong cards right now at the moment with Modern, and also with what other set? Not Vintage. It's mainly Pioneer. Yeah, Modern and Pioneer really love those two cards, so that's why they're still like really at a really good price right now, is because they're being played a lot.
And we gotta admit, burn is good in every format, basically.
It depends what burn deck they're playing, and it depends how quickly they want to burn the opponent.
Burn can work.
Yeah, especially with some of the new burn cards that have come out. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's getting devastating.
No, it's getting bad. There's an enchantment called Fiery Emancipation, which it triples the burn damage.
Yummy.
So if you have that card out, and let's say you have a Jessica Thrice Reborn, it basically means it's not only tripling it, but it's now quadrupling that damage. So with those two cards right there, it's like you could one-shot someone with a fireball. It's like, oh, fireball, effect, dead, done. So yeah, it's like there's some really solid burn cards right now that people are starting to realize this.
That's
pretty
cross format.
strong.
I mean, we're talking from Pauper to Commander
Yeah,
to
yeah, pretty
Legacy.
much.
I guess would be the least. Legacy and Vintage would be the least viable because
yeah.
there's so many combo decks,
Oh yeah.
and there's just so many like cheap counter spells that you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I have to add. Jeskai Burn though was something, you know, because then we had the white and the blue for control,
Yeah.
and the red to secure the win.
Especially with white blue, like white blue, like also being controlling. It's like people were playing like Geist of Saint Traff just to control the board and just make a bunch of angels,
Blue
and then they
control.
would combo it off with a Sundial of the Infinite and be like, cool, my stuff stays, but my stuff stays, but your stuff goes away. So it's like, you know,
or Monastery Mentor. If
oh
you're
my
just
yeah,
casting
oh my
spells.
god, yeah, or even Imperial Recruiter, like
Yeah.
woo, yeah, like there were some
Yeah.
really solid combos with that.
Certainly, I agree with that. And Paper Magic, probably we don't see that as much, but MTGO, these are things probably still within circulation.
Oh yeah, they're still people still hold on to them because they're just like, oh, one day this card's gonna be really useful.
Right. So I think the next segue, I think would be maybe fun stories. What is the most valuable or your favorite time opening a pack, or what card that you were just like, holy crap? I'll go first just so you guys can think about it. But I was in a draft for M19, I believe, or M20. Yeah, M20. And the guy was saying, if you have any flip walkers, because there's some flip walkers in the set, you have to announce it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And my first pack one, pick one, I'm all Nicol Bolas, the Arisen.
Damn, there you go.
It was the legendary flip walker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that card definitely had a good value to it during that time.
So, I mean, I sold it for $20 like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, there you go.
So it held value. And yeah, that was probably one of my best experiences. But I mean, even drafting, there was a lot, and having to contain it, you know, because it's pack one, pick one, and with the homies, you're like, whoa. And then you're like, bro, this is what I got on the first one. Once the deck's already built, that's fun too.
Oh, yeah, especially in draft. Like in draft, if you pull a very pricey card, like any draft I go to, they're like, if you ever pull this card or this card, you gotta let us know, and then you'll say like if you want to either stay in the draft or if you want to head out with it. So that's what a lot of people do. Is like some people like would actually head out, but some would actually stay and be like, no, I'm good. But
I would stay. Well, they're like, well, that paid for my admission and more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you do a Modern Horizons fucking
Ooh,
thing.
Oh my, yeah.
Get fucking $500 card. You're like,
pretty much.
Goodbye.
Yup. It's like, all right.
Have fun playing, nerds.
Yup. Yup.
No, I agree though. What about you, Gareth? Do you have any like memorable experiences from just getting packs, or maybe you bought a card that you thought just was really cool?
Probably the best card I ever drew was the alternate art version of who's the vampire? Sorin, yeah, the alternate in the vampire set.
Oh, Sorin.
Oh, Shadows over Innistrad?
Yeah, when we drafted it.
Yeah, that was
we
fun.
didn't get to play, which I was excited about.
Solemn Visitor?
I think so.
Sorin?
Two and two black.
I think that might
There's
be
so many
Solemn
Sorins
Visitor.
now. I remember when it was just Sorin Markov, and he fucking made your life 10.
Oh, the OG.
Commander, that shit was sick.
Yeah. Everybody hated seeing that card because they were like, like, I don't like that card.
Well, he's
at
triple
all.
black. He was so hard to splash, but once you got him out, you felt like a beast.
Yeah, or even having out like Liliana of the Veil.
Yeah,
like, woo,
that's
you bring
dope,
that
too.
out and people knew that card was gonna be very pricey.
Still.
Oh, it still is pricey.
Yeah.
It's like 100.
Like
it's
8 rack?
No, the foil. Let's see, the foil full art right now goes for almost like. I think like almost 400, and then the
Really?
regular one's like 150.
Yeah,
so,
those are the commander nerds that always shoot those prices up.
Yep.
Like, I want my Seki foil Liliana.
Yeah, or the new like anime like
Yeah.
time that they did with like with
Amikami
Neon
type.
Dynasty. Like that's a set
Those
that
were
also
cool,
had-
though.
Neon Dynasty was
Especially
sweet.
the full arts.
Oh yeah.
The Japanese full arts
Those
for
were
Neon
cool.
Dynasty were
yeah, those
amazing.
were really nice. Yeah.
You know what set I kind of missed out on? I think it would be an amazing draft, even though... Oh, wait, no, that was Anthony. I thought you were going to say you hated Lord of the Rings, but I think Lord of the Rings
Lord of the
drafts
Rings,
would be
oh my.
so fire.
It'd be so much fun. Yeah.
Is it hard to get a hold of, though, now?
Yeah, boxes are a little pricey. I think they're like $135 right now, and then
That's
I know
manageable,
I know Although, like the was it the collector boosters? Woo!
Yeah.
Like 300, like 3 racks right there just for one
Those
box.
are for
like
sure the Commander nerds got all of that.
Well, that and plus there was that one of one printing of the One Ring, and that's the reason why the collector set shot up is because everybody was all trying to look for that one card.
Well, it already got sold though, right?
Yeah, it did. Well, Post Malone picked it up.
Yeah.
He ended up picking it up after seeing it, and he offered the guy $2 million for it. He was like, "Hey, I'll give you $2 million if you give me this card." And he was like, "Okay." So the guy made $2 million off of one single card. Yeah. That video was wild. I did not expect him to actually pay that much for a single card. But yeah, that'd be fun to draft.
Right.
That'd be a lot of fun to draft too.
Yeah, I wish they would go maybe back. One thing that I for sure want to get, but I guarantee with the popularity of the show, it's way harder to get your hands on now. Fallout. The Fallout precons, because they still got the Warhammer precons.
Yeah.
But they had
the Fallout
Caesar
ones. Yeah. The Fallout ones. Yeah. Those ones are kind of hard to come by now. Everybody wants them. Everybody's wanting the Fallout Commander decks.
Well, that's why I'm like kind of transitioning out. It's like too much in Magic.
Yeah, I get that.
So maybe not to hijack the podcast, but maybe as just a possibility transition. Like, what are some other like card games that you think might have some potential in transitioning, or some people that might feel disenfranchised a little bit by Magic and share some concerns that we talked about, mulled over a little bit, like price and like power creep.
I know one game. I know one game that is definitely in that area.
If you say Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm gonna knock you the fuck out.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of say that.
Oh my god!
I was about to say that.
I was
like, there was one game in my mind where I was like, I know one game that is definitely getting pricey. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Oh.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah. I mean,
what about something with like promise? What about something that you think has some legs under it that you think could like Lorcana?
Lorcana could. Yeah, Lorcana
Okay,
could definitely.
right? Because the Disney nerds carry everything.
Pokemon
and if they put some Marvel stuff, okay, right?
Like
Pokemon?
that one's slowly creeping back up, just because people are like, 4 cards. Like, I need those in my deck.
Right.
So that's kind of why they.
And they're staying beginner friendly, which Magic I think is completely abandoned.
Yep.
I feel like there is almost no beginner friendly. Even you, Gareth, which you're not a beginner, but because you only have like 3 years under your belt and you have like maybe a couple hundred cards, you're like so behind the curve for most of the Magic nerds that you'd have to invest significantly amount more to be involved. And I'm in the position where I got passed up. I was so involved and I was so invested, and then I like look back, and now if I were in these conversations or in these trades, I wouldn't be as relevant. It wouldn't be as relevant. So, Luke, would you say you're pretty caught up in the Yu-Gi-Oh community?
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah. I'm easily caught up with it.
What are some exciting things in the Yu-Gi-Oh community?
Community. Well, let's see here. I think the exciting thing was, YCS Brazil happened. A couple other regionals just happened this week as well. One of my buddies is actually out in Utah at one of them. And
shout out to homie.
And there are some archetypes out there that are really, really strong. Like Snake Eye right now is very dumb.
Are Cyber Dragons still a deal?
They're what we like to call rogue tier. So there's there's 2 different tiers. There's rogue tier and then meta tier. Anything in the meta tier means that it's very playable and very good, whereas rogue tier is like for the beginning players.
Can win, but
it can still be. It's like if people are playing for fun, then those would be rogue decks. But if they're playing to win, then they're using meta decks. Which
what are your favorite 2 meta right now, and what are your favorite 2 rogue outside of Pendulum, fool?
No, I would say I think my 2 meta right now is. Like, are we talking, like, archetype, or, like,
just archetypes.
Okay, so I'd say my favorite 2 right now have to be Snake Eye and... No, what was the other
Ultimate
one?
Hero?
No, I was going to say Snake Eye and Orchest right now are my 2 favorites.
Cool, man.
Yeah. Well, I know I ended up picking up a Snake Eye deck, believe it or not, for almost $1,000. Because my buddy was selling the deck, and he was like, hey, I'm getting rid of this deck, do you want it? And I was like, can you do payments? And he was like, sure. So I just paid him off for it. But I picked it up, and it is honestly the best deck right now.
And you've been dominating.
I've been doing really good. I've been doing really solid with it.
Sweet. Gareth, do you have anything you want to talk about for Pokemon, or do you have any?
I don't play any Pokemon.
But do you like have any interest? Maybe you're the viewer, you're the POV for the viewer that's not super interested, but maybe it's like, I don't know, Magic seems pretty expensive to get into. I like card games. I have some fun stuff.
No.
Do you have no interest in card games?
Not anymore. They're expensive.
It's
And
over?
they're complicated, and you buy little bits of cardboard you can print at home. And I don't know. Not really. I got sucked into Magic, and then I escaped.
He just has an
My mind is
existential
clear.
crisis.
I see now.
So don't.
Magic deck for sale, $500. It's great.
So basically, we start off all excited and loving it, and now we're trashing Magic. So if you love that and you hate this channel, click that like button.
Man.
Subscribe. Do you have
Like
anything
button.
else to say?
Oh, I was about to say what my polls were from the draft because I like it how we
Yeah, I
talked
wanna
about
hear
that, and
that.
then we just went the other way.
I do
see.
want to hear that story.
I think my two favorite ones. I think the first one was we were drafting with. I think it was one of the Masters. It was one of those. No, it was.
Horizon?
No, I'm trying to think of what set it was. It was with. I know they had Zendikar, like, the Zendikar fetch lands. They had those. What were those lands called again?
Expeditions.
Oh, Expeditions. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what other set had them, but there was one other.
Zendikar.
I think it was Zendikar. No, Zendikar Rising.
Yeah.
That was a set, but I was drafting with a bunch of people over at Griffin's, believe it or not, and I ended up pulling one of the Zendikar lands, in one of those lands, and I'm trying to remember what was the names of them again. Fetch? No, it wasn't Fetch. It was Invoke. I'm trying to remember what the Zendikar lands were called again. Oh, Expeditions. That was it.
Yeah.
The one I ended up pulling, believe it or not, was Wasteland.
Oh,
I pulled
my
that card
gosh.
out of the second pack, and I just stopped because I saw the little outline, and I knew that outline meant it was one of those lands, and so I just stopped. And two of the players, like one to my left and right, just both kind of looked at me and then looked down. They were like, and I was like, shh. And I slowly peeked it up, and I immediately closed, and I looked at them, and I was like, it's a fucking wasteland. And they were like, oh my god, and everybody at our table all just stared at me, and one of the judges walked over, and he was like, did you just pull a wasteland? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, and turns out it was like almost 350 during that time. It was like
Wow.
350 for that land, but
That's great.
yeah, that
bro.
was my only best pull I pulled there. I mean, I pulled other things not from draft, but that was the
Yeah.
one card from draft where I
This
was
is
like,
crazy.
this is the big money card
Just
everybody
put it in your
wanted.
cart, in your deck.
I had it for about, like a year and a half, and then I sold it for
No.
like 200.
Did you put it in your draft deck?
Yeah, I did. I
Oh,
put it in my
nice.
draft deck, and everybody was just all like, how'd you pull that card? And I was like, draft, and they were like, you are so lucky right now. And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I kind of am. But yeah, that was a really fun draft. I had fun with that.
Well,
one,
speaking
though.
of Fallout, that would have been a great theme card for Fallout.
Oh yeah, that would have definitely been a really great theme. I mean, they have the new like radiation thing with it, where actually I can pull it up on here. It talked about with Fallout how there's a new thing called radiation.
Okay, is it kind of like Infect and a similar?
I think so. Let me double.
We'll see.
check
We're gonna
here.
look up the rules here for radiation, and that's how it rocks. Like socks, it's what we are transitioning to.
Let's see if I can get a photo of it. That'd be cool. Now I can actually get a good.
So basically, we're sick and tired of all the crossovers and the money that they want from us. Flesh and Blood is a decent alternative. Got a bunch of those starter decks.
So here's what radiation does with Fallout is it says at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, if you have any rad counters, mill that many cards. For each non-land card milled this way, you lose 1 life and a rad counter. So at the beginning of each of your turns, you get 1 counter. And then you mill, and if it is the non-land card milled for that, you'll lose a life, but the rad counter goes away.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not
That's
it's not
fair.
bad, but if your counters are like say up to like 7, it's like you could be in some pretty you could be in
proliferate.
some trouble. Yeah, you could be in some real big trouble with that.
And double counters.
Yeah.
And yeah, it could be dumb.
Although
but
for graveyard decks, oh, they would love it because it's like they could have that going while having out a Hermit Druid and just be like, good luck, like you're gonna need it.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Fallout set's really good to draft. Like, I've seen some of the art for it, and it looks really, really, really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another
I'd be
reason.
interested in one of the Commander Precons for sure.
That's why I was a big fan with the Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
Yeah.
Is because once I saw the artwork for it, I was like, oh, I am so getting a Commander deck for it.
Sweet. Yeah, that might be a fun one to draft too,
Oh,
I
it's
think.
Thunder Junction's gonna be a really
Wild
good
West.
set. Old Wild West themed cards.
With still all the magic races and all that cool stuff, planeswalkers and stuff.
And some of the cards actually will look like wanted posters, and it'll say like
Yeah.
wanted under it. And I was just like, oh, I was like, okay, that's nice. Like I really like that.
Wanted promos, that's so sick.
Those are really cool right there.
Which they do in the One Piece card game, which I know Valks is in the comments freaking out.
Yep. because he's not
about the
here.
One Piece card game that we didn't mention. One Piece!
No.
But yeah, that's a pretty cool game. I think they're on OPO7 at this point.
Woo.
And I have a couple decks for that too. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm honestly transitioning to some other games. I'm
Yeah.
kind of trying to get rid of my Magic. I'll always have a couple Commander decks, but
Yeah, I was gonna say
overall,
that's why for me it's like I
kinda lost me.
transition. Like I'm slowly taking a break from Yu-Gi-Oh just because of how pricey it's getting.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of transitioned over to Magic. Is because I was like, okay, this is a little bit more flexible for me. Where because with the newer archetypes out there, it's
so
like,
it's even more expensive than Magic.
oh, it's getting pricey.
Wow.
Like for a good meta deck, you'd probably be blowing about a band on it easily.
And is it And is
Easily.
it hard to find like rogue groups?
Not really. There's normally on Sundays we have like a mix of people. Like
Okay.
there's some meta players and then there's some rogue players who just want to play for fun.
Right.
And so me, I'd be like,
You get more games with
Yeah,
them.
me, it's like I'm in the middle with them, where it's like I play sometimes competitively if I want to, or I just play for fun.
Then you
like,
get smashed and you go hang out with the real boys.
No, not really.
I'm
We just play
respectful.
again.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me your favorite 2 rogue archetypes though.
Oh yeah, for rogue. Oh man, I'd say Cyber Dragon's a really fun one
Yeah.
to play. Cyber Dragon's a good one, and then
Ultimate Hero, what are they called?
Elemental Heroes.
Elemental
Elemental Heroes are actually slowly becoming meta, just because there are new hero cards that came out, and people were like, "Oh," and I was like, "Heroes are gonna be kind of scary," and they're like, "Heroes are really good right now."
Elemental Hero!
Yeah, people are playing Heroes.
I think there's an Avatar card game too. Yeah, check stuff
Yeah.
out. Definitely do your due diligence. Do what
Yup.
you gotta do.
Yup.
Share some comments down below. What's the best thing you've ever pulled? And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. This has been the Multiverse Infinitum podcast. Click the like button, subscribe. Go check out Team NoCo, Gareth Bond. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Later.